Julian, he's the founder and chairman of DigiMe, started his career as an aeronautical engineer and he worked initially in the military industry, and there he kind of started his interest in IT, I guess. But I think you can tell us more about this yourself, but maybe I can add as well that he has been involved in a lot of startups, and DigiMe is one good example of that. So your floor is yours.
Thank you. So, good afternoon. You've had a number of presentations already today, starting with this morning including talking about the general data protection regulations and what that means to you and handling personal data, to the last talk which talked about big data and how that could be good for you. There's all sorts of issues when you come to personal data, and what I'm going to be talking about is personal data. Well, I would be if the presentation was up and running. So we'll just talk, there it is. So going to be talking about personal data and how that provides a shift in power from businesses to the individual. Now that sounds terrifying for you if you're businesses, but actually it's better for everybody. It's better for the individual, it's better for businesses, it's better for society and government as a whole. So what I'm hoping by the end of this presentation is that you'll believe in three things. That you will believe that there's a change in control coming, because it really is. That what we therefore call the Internet of Me, where I'm at the center of my digital life, I own and control my own data, is a good thing. For you, the businesses, as well as for the individual. And that it will have advantages for everybody. So if I don't do that, then you can ask me. So we need to start thinking of some key consumer trends that are there today. And we are the data generation. We're generating more data than we ever have done before. And that's not just social data or bank data, that's all of our health data, which is electronic and including wearables and other things. It's all our purchases, it's where we go, it's our smart devices. We're actually strangely getting used to data analysis as individuals. Now, we might not call it that, we might not even think that it's that, but I certainly wouldn't have expected 5 years ago to be looking at a graph of my electricity usage or how many steps I took in a day or whatever else. We are getting used to looking at data in many ways if it's presented in a nice and simple way. And we expect personalization. We expect things to be personal for us, for you, the businesses, to know about us. But we're a little bit worried about how you know about us. But we do like personalization and services. But that then comes with this data protection issue. How are you learning about us? Was I involved in that? And those two are often in conflict. So how do we square all those trends? How do we bring them all together? And it's actually because there is going to be this change in control. So let's look at it another way. For the last 10, 15 years, as time's been going along the axis, as individuals, we have been sharing more and more data. Now, that's been both positively sharing, meaning that I know we're doing it, and perhaps not quite so positively when it's been taken from behind me because I'm leaking it as I visit websites or use social networks or whatever. But in general, that sharing has been going up. And there's kind of this assumption that that will continue unabated. And we'll get to this Internet of Things where everything about us will talk to everybody else and it'll all happen auto-magically and life's wonderful. But life isn't so wonderful because at the moment it's corporates that control that data, and we're starting as individuals to understand that that means risk to us. And what you're seeing is a tailing off. So you may have heard of the ad blockers coming in. There's over 200 million people now doing that, the largest boycott in history, and it's cutting down a lot. We've got a warfare, and I'll come back to that theme again in a moment. But people are not sharing as much as they used to. They're changing the way they interact on the internet. So unless we do something different, we're not going to continue to share. And if we don't continue to share, then a lot of the promise of doing new things and having new data feeds and everything else isn't going to happen. So there has to be a new way to get there. And that new way is if I own and control the data, and if you come to me. And I'm just going to keep repeating that point because it seems odd to a lot of people today, but it also should be obvious. It's what businesses do. We have our data and other companies come to us and we share it. It's what I spent 25 years doing for the military, building a worldwide business where the military has their data and then they share it on a need-to-know basis. And if we do this, if the individual has their data, then it becomes an opportunity for me as an individual, also for businesses, because you can come up with a remarkable value proposition and say, all I need to do is know a little bit more about you, and then I can say yes and give you better data. So we call that the Internet of Me, and also when we're talking on the business side, the personal data economy. And it's very simple. I've got my data, there's a company, says I share data with you, whoops, that went too fast, and you give me a value exchange back. Now, we often talk about that value exchange and people say, does that mean to say that individuals are going to sell their data for money? Well, I personally don't think so. I'm not interested in $10 or $20, even if it's a month. I'm much more interested in new services that you can give me. What can you do that makes my life more convenient? Yes, or you can reward me in lots of different ways, not just in cash. So when I talk about a value exchange, we're talking about all three of those things. So the implications to business depends upon where you want to be on this sort of classic business chart. Do you want to be a low-cost product commodity business? In which case, probably engaging with me as a customer is not that important, although it still has relevance. You just want me to buy the product. You don't need to know masses about me if I'm coming to buy. Or do you want to be a high-value business, which most people do, where you want to give me new services and you want to engage me? Because then you need to work with me, the individual. And what you don't want to be, of course, is a bit of both at the bottom. All right? So I want you to think about being in the top right, wanting to engage with me, the individual. Now, these things are happening. People have been talking about it for a while, so you'd be right to say, well, Julian, I've heard about this for a while. The World Economic Forum in 2011 said, in practical terms, a person's data would be equivalent to their money. But remember, not necessarily going to sell it. It's for value exchange, service data, service convenience or reward. That's 2011. And we're in 2016, and it hasn't really happened. But it is happening. And that's what I'm here to tell you. It's starting to take off. You'll see it in Iceland this year. You'll see it worldwide coming in the next 18 months. Telefonica, one of the world's largest telephone companies, has just, across 350 million users, has just changed in their whole strategy to talk about, and it's a great quote, customers have to recover their digital sovereignty, to own their digital footprint, and consciously decide how they want to make use of their data. So if some of the world's largest companies are actively changing their whole strategies around this, it's definitely the time is here. Boston Consulting Group have said that this new way of people having the data themselves will be worth €1 trillion in Europe by 2020. Now, you can argue whether it's really $1 trillion, but I don't really care whether it's 500 billion or 700 billion or several hundred billion. It's a lot of money. All right? It is coming. You already see, and I'm going to use some UK examples, Vitality Health is just a health insurance company. What do I mean by just a health insurance company is usually they just take my money at the end of the year, and if I'm ill, I get some money back for my stuff. That's it. But they've decided that isn't it. Actually, can we change the model? Can we work with our customers and actually try and keep them healthy with all the new data? Can I learn more about my customers? Can I encourage them to change? And can I therefore gain a benefit from engagement as a result of that? So they're getting people to wear Fitbits and the like. Share the data with the company. They encourage me and my children to walk X thousand steps a day. And if I do, then I get money off my insurance. I might get some free cinema tickets as well. And I feel engaged. But also, I'm healthier, so I'm less likely to claim off them. It's clever. All right? It's simple, but it's clever. Ocado doing the same. Even the likes of Facebook are starting to change. And I know this from Dialogue, and there's other big companies doing the same. They already give their data back, something that is seen by a lot of people as, ooh, if I keep hold of the data, that's really good for me. But people already understand that it is about sharing, it is about giving the data back to the individuals, and then asking for extra data. And of course, the legislation you heard about, the General Data Protection Regulations, which I'll come back to later, are pushing us all in this same direction. So in summary, the trends are forcing a change of control. The legislation is doing it. But because it's happening, it's not negative. It's actually a benefit. And I'll try and show you how. So as I said, this is what we call the Internet of Me. DigiMe is one of quite a few companies in this space. So I'm going to use my examples, but there are others around. So if you think about yourself as individuals, the problem that companies have is they can't come and ask you for your data today because you don't have it. It's in all of those places. So you don't have access as an individual to most of your data. You don't know about you as well as the companies do, which is crazy. And businesses need that data for services. Now, you heard about big data, which is really when people take some of that data around the back and it's all there. It's great for trends. It's good for analysis. But it's really quite thin when it comes to me as an individual. It's actually 30 to 50% wrong quite often as me as an individual. And it's not positioned and it can be not permissioned and it can be creepy. But what if I, as an individual, got all my data back? What if I had all of my information? And it's very simple to do. So with our software, all you do is you download a piece of software to your device, log on through that software to all of your bank data, to your health data, to your social data, to all of your places, and the data comes back. So that you have a private library on your device. Our company, DigiMe, doesn't actually see, touch, or hold the data. You own it yourself. All right? So you've now got all of your data on your own devices. It's a unique position, and it isn't very difficult to achieve. And we are achieving it today already. So now you can do more. You can, with your own app on your own device, know more about you than you've ever known before. Search stuff, go and find stuff. You have a nice app that we provide that allows you to look through your data, get some of those stats, search, do everything else. You become the most informed person about yourself. But then businesses can now come to you because you've actually got data. And it's rich data. There's a new term for you, not big data or thin data, but rich. It's rich because it's wider. It's all of your data categories, banking, health, social, all the things that you do. It's deeper in time. It's 100% accurate because it is about you. And it's easy for one place to go. So businesses can now come to you and get much better data just by knocking on the door. So we provide a whole system for helping to manage that. And it's just easy. You own your data, businesses come to you. And the way it works is there's a certificate system. Now, this is the way we do it. Others can do it different ways, but it's very simple. A business just fills out a certificate that tells the user what they're going to do. What data do they want? What are you going to do with that data? What are you going to give me back? Better services or whatever. Are you going to store any of that data? Keep it. You may not. Because now the data's on my device, you could do local processing on my device. So as a bank, you could ask to look at all of my financial information on my device, come up with some creditworthiness score, and only take that data off my device. You don't have to do things the way you used to. Are you going to share it with third parties? And a new one, are you going to implement right to forget? Because that's part of the new GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulations. And if you do that, and if I'm happy with the value exchange, what you're giving me, you have access to this rich data, which is wider, deeper, 100% accurate, fully permissioned, only one place to go, one API to tap, the individual. You don't have to try and collect it from loads of places and associate it and do things. So you can get greater trust because you've asked me. You can get greater knowledge. You can innovate. And then, as was kindly pointed out, innovation on its own is not good unless you repeat. So you can then engage with me and go forwards from there. And it's efficient. These are huge business advantages which you cannot do today because individuals don't have their data, but they will very shortly. So health is a good example. We're already working with some of the world's largest health companies and big pharma and life insurance, because if I can just have my health data, I will be more healthy. That has been seen many times. But I can then have apps that sit on my device that actually don't have to share data with anyone else, that can give me advice, especially if I've got conditions or I need anything monitoring. It's a very easy use case. But the same can apply to banks, and there's a whole variety of use cases, whether that's helping me understand how I interact with you now, whether that's looking across all my financial records and realizing that they're better products you could do, or whether that's realizing I'm a better risk for loans than you thought I was, and being able to give me a better deal, or whether it's doing completely new things that you hadn't thought of because you've got access to a wider range of information. You can build that engagement. Now, those should be sufficient reasons for you to want to engage with the Internet of Me and go directly to your customers in any case. But if they aren't sufficient reasons, then the GDPR is going to push you that way anyway, all right? You have to give data back, data portability. Anybody with data about an individual has to give it back to the individual. So individuals will have their data. And if you're not the first to go and knock on the door and ask people for the data, there'll be some nimbler companies that will be the first, right? And they'll be able to do new things quickly because it's one source for the information. You're no longer allowed to reuse data. And in banking, you, to some extent, you haven't been anyway, but you've been able to use some. But it's explicit and informed consent every time you want to use my data, whether you got it from me or around the back of me. You're better off getting that consent by asking me and getting better data. And right to forget means that you better keep me engaged, because at any time I can just turn you off from my data stream and ask you to delete it. All of that is inherent in the Internet of Me, because if you come and ask me, it is private by design. You will get explicit and informed consent. You're engaged in this giving me data and asking me for it as well, and the right to forget comes as part of that. So you can move from a transactional viewpoint of life to engagement, from passive to active, from cash management to an enabler to meet my dreams, because you could even ask me what I am trying to achieve, rather than just making some bold assumptions. Now, some people then say, well, yeah, but how does that fit with the current model? How does privacy work? Couldn't we fix this a different way? And the answer is, it's not really easy. This is where my old work, when I used to work for the military, comes in. Because we're at war today with companies. Not everyone realizes it. Not everyone's engaging in the war, but it is there, both regulatory or whatever else. Because companies need personal data. They can't get it from me today. So we have data brokers you get it from, who harvest behind the consumer. A large number of consumers are not happy about that exchange for money. So there's lots of point solutions to try and limit the leakage. Do not track, ad blocking, using different things, changing the way I operate on the internet. Legislation attempts to do it. This whole process is getting more and more costly and more expensive for less and less quality data. Now, you never fix it with warfare. It just gets worse and worse and worse. You can't have a point solution to fix it. You have to do it a new way. And that new way is to realize that the individual has their data. Now you can avoid the data broker completely, fades into the background because you go directly. The money flows to the data brokers will disappear. And in fact, you will enable a more private world. And that will happen. And we're already seeing it happen in various places. You're already seeing a lot of the big data broker companies realize that their time is limited and they need to start thinking how they engage with the individual. So, just a summary. Our data is fragmented today. We will own it. Companies like DigiMe will help individuals get all of their data back so that they own everything. They have a complete picture and can see more themselves. And then they can share that with businesses. You can get the richest, best data that you've ever dreamed of as long as you work hard at the value exchange. And therefore you can do new things. That's the Internet of Me. So I said I'd try and achieve those three things. I've got about a minute left for any questions. So does anybody have any questions or thereabouts? Okay, how do companies like mine get paid for the services? So I'm only going to talk about my company because I can't talk about others, right? So the way we do it is to try and be as low as possible. So we provide the software for free to the consumers to build the library. When a consumer says to a business, you can have my data, we charge a postal fee of 10 cents. So it's just a postal fee. It's not a transaction fee, it's a fixed fee, right? And there's a limit per company, per user, per year. And the reason we can do that, by the way, is I don't have to have any server farms or anything else, because I don't hold data, process it, or anything else. I'm just a software provider and a certificate provider. Okay? So in fact, it does mean to say companies get better data at vastly reduced prices, but other business models may apply. Any other questions?
Question, because I had a short talk with you earlier. You know, how do you see application for this in Iceland?
Yes, in Iceland. So, and why we're here as a Brit company in Iceland. So we're working with some very large companies around the world, but Iceland's a very interesting place. You may not have the largest companies, but you're a tight, small community with a lot of advanced software, both in health and in banking and in telco. So we're working both with the government and in health, hopefully within the banking sphere, and also with telcos, and really hoping that Iceland, by the end of the year, will become the first country to be fully part of the Internet of Me. There's lots of countries which have got parts of the Internet of Me, but we're hoping that Iceland will be the first that is a fully Internet of Me enabled country by the end of the year, early next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.